Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pink and Channels. Welcome to episode 3 of our series of loan players and getting some insight on the players returning to Carrow Road from successful or not so successful loan spells. This one is definitely a success. Abu Kamara, you don't need me to tell you what he's done at Portsmouth this year. Title winner, really impressive reviews from the Portsmouth fans and hopefully from someone with a lot of insight on him, Andrew Moon, who covers Portsmouth for the BBC across various channels. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me first and foremost. Abu Kamara, talk to me a little bit about the year he's had, because it feels like, look, from the outside in, as a loan and as a first proper loan, it couldn't have gone much better for him.
No, he's hopeless. The best thing you could do would be to let him go back to Portsmouth permanently. No, joking aside, he came, he played 3 games maybe when he came to Pompey. You never quite know what you're going to get out of players when they turn up for their first loan. And I don't think even he expected the season to go quite as well as it did. He started off playing, we sort of didn't know exactly where he'd want to play. I think he prefers playing on the right and cutting in on his left foot. He played quite a lot on the left. He played a little bit in the middle, but on the right was really where he was most effective. But it's just kind of everything about him. Yeah, he's a really good character, really good guy, really well respected in the dressing room, very humble kid, very keen to work hard and to learn. And he has got so much talent and so much ability. He's very tall, so can win balls in the air, but he runs like a 400-meter runner. And even he talks about how people say he sort of glides across, but he has this very effortless running style. But he was pretty much too quick for everyone in League One. His decision making in the final third was pretty good. All in all, for a first loan, you would have to search right across the EFL to find someone who had a better first loan from that. And look, it always helps when you win promotion as well, but he was fantastic. And I always think when you get promoted, you're going to have some players in your team where at the start of the season, right, they're going to have to contribute a lot. And then you probably need a few wild cards. I don't think anyone would have expected quite the level of production out of Abu Kamara that Pompey got. And he's one of those players that after this loan, there's no point in him going back to playing League One. He's proved that he is too good to play at League One level and should definitely be making a step up for next season.
It's really interesting because I remember, and maybe you'll know the dates better, but it was sort of autumn time, wasn't it? And I remember some quotes from John Mousinho, and Abu Kamara got a little bit of stick. Maybe that's a little bit harsh in terms of what he got, but there was some question marks around him, shall we say, from some of the Portsmouth fans. And Mousinho really offered what was quite a strong defence of him. And maybe this is the question: was that a real turning point for him in terms of the loan? Was that sort of a confidence boost that he needed to then kick on and do what he did at Fratton Park?
Yeah, and not every game over the whole season was brilliant, but I'd say in the second half, it's hard to think of too many bad games, albeit he probably tired a little bit towards the end. But I remember, for example, second game of the season, Pompey won 4-0 at Leyton Orient. He was playing on the left wing. He had a really poor game, struggled. And there were kind of, in that first few months, there were highs and lows. He certainly played more football, but he wasn't quite as comfortable on the left. I think it's really just a learning curve. Playing under 23, under 21 football, friendlies, it's not like playing proper EFL games. It's very different. It's a different intensity. It's a different different kind of style of match. And he did take a little bit of time to adjust. But towards the end of the season, a lot of the way Pompey were playing was to try and isolate him one-on-one with his fullback. And I remember, I think it was the Barnsley game. I can't remember who was playing left back, but I think it was Nicky Cadden at one point, having been beaten by him yet again, kind of turned to the Barnsley bench and was like, well, what do you expect me to do? I.e., you can't leave me one-on-one with him. And it got to that point where clubs, if they decided to leave their fullback one-on-one with him, that was a big problem. And obviously, from Portsmouth's point of view, if you put two men on one player, then that obviously is going to freeze things up elsewhere. He's got kind of lovely footwork, lovely kind of silky skill, a really good left foot, can really finish well on that. And just that pace, which is just so vital, particularly as you move up a level.
Yeah, it's interesting, kind of what you said there as kind of his on-pitch stuff. You will have interviewed him, I'm sure, throughout the season. Have you seen a change in him in terms of his confidence levels, in terms of how I don't know, maybe even his speaking, as that kind of improved as a first team player? Because these are the small elements that sometimes clubs look for, aren't they?
Yeah, he's quite a shy individual, but always
Mm.
very polite and always happy to speak and always very friendly when you do speak to him. I probably imagine going into that Portsmouth dressing room with quite a lot of experienced players might have been a bit intimidating at the start of the season, but once he kind of showed what he could do, he absolutely had their respect, and they speak so highly of him. Around around the squad, they were so impressed. There's no doubt his confidence levels would have grown, because you would think at the start of the season, I don't think even he realised quite what he was capable of, and how scared defenders would get of his ability going forward, and what he could do. And I say he tired towards the end. He must have played, I think he only missed in all competitions 1 or 2 games, because he started off sort of playing a bit in the league and starting in the EFL trophy, and then that kind of flipped over, but he was still coming on or playing in all these cup games. So the number of appearances he made, that was incredible, to be able to stay fit for that length of time. That tells you something about his sort of physical skills as well, because look, players are going to get injured, pick up injuries, but when you're playing a season as intense as the one Portsmouth had last season, and you're able to play pretty much every game, that's another kind of real asset you would look at, because one of Pompey's other loanees last season, Tino Angirini, came from Chelsea, clearly another really good character, really talented player, but then missed 5 months of the season due to a serious injury, has a bad injury record. And you look at the two of them, and there's a lot of talent in both, but you would look at Kamara and think, well, you would expect him to be able to stay fit next season more than Tino Angirini would be able to.
And in terms of, as you say, Portsmouth won the league title, remarkable achievement. So many individual players, I'm sure you could point out. But how big a part did he play, and how popular was he in that Portsmouth group as a young lad, as we said, maybe slightly shy, first loan, all of those experiences? How popular was he?
Yeah, I don't have the stats in front of me, but he must have been approaching double digits for goals and assists, which for anyone playing on the wing is a massive achievement. He always looked a bit sheepish in all the celebrations, because anytime he appeared, the chant of sign him up would come out. And I think he felt he didn't really know whether he should acknowledge that, whether that would be disrespectful to Norwich. He certainly was very flattered, and he just had the respect of his teammates, both kind of personally and professionally. And that's always a massive thing for a young player to have. And you would imagine he will grow in confidence as he continues to develop.
Well, that was going to be my question, because I think, certainly the Norwich expectation amongst fans and the noises that you hear is that he's going to come back and be involved. Do you think Portsmouth are pretty realistic and maybe this is a fan base point more than a club point, but is there a hope, even a real slim hope, that he could come back next season, or do you think most Portsmouth fans are realistic that he's probably done enough to come back and play for Norwich?
It would just take one phone call to John Mousinho saying, "Do you want him?" and he'd probably be in a car to Norfolk like that on his way. I think there is realism that, first of all, he's going to go back at the start of pre-season with Norwich, chance to show a new manager what he's capable of, and is surely going to be someone that they're going to have a very good look at in what the first 3-4 weeks of pre-season. You never know what a new manager may or may not want. And obviously, let's be honest, there's different expectations at Portsmouth and Norwich next season. Norwich will be expected to be competing for the top 6. Portsmouth, first season back, will be aiming to stay up. That's, you offered Portsmouth 17th now. They might not say it publicly, but I'm pretty sure if you offered pretty much most people around, they would take that, because your first season back in the Championship. So even playing in the Championships, there's different levels. There's trying to get a side to the Premier League, and there's trying to keep a side up. I just kind of look, and when you think 9 subs, and even if at the start of the season he was going to be someone that Norwich looked to use off the bench as an impact sub, he could definitely do that. I'd just be surprised if there wasn't a role for him in some capacity. I think Portsmouth are aware that the chances of getting him back are very slim. I don't think they're zero, because you don't know what would happen, and they would jump at the chance to have him again. But I think they're realistic that he's probably going to have a role to play at Norwich. And if he was to go out on loan, I don't think he will. It's probably one of those. It might be end of August. I'd imagine he's at least going to play in the League Cup. And then if suddenly towards the end of August he's not really in the squad, then who knows? Maybe he'd be allowed to go. But it's not going to be a case as he joined Portsmouth 10 days before the season or the week before the season. He'll be in at Norwich in pre-season if he's fit and firing and continue what he did last season. I would think there is a role for him there, even if it is just to be an impact sub off the bench.
Final two from me, but first him, we've mentioned him a few times. John Mousinho, how good has he been for him at this stage? Young coach in his first full season, really, as a head coach, which is remarkable to think, given what he's achieved this season. But it kind of feels like the coach that maybe he needed on that first line. We mentioned kind of the episode earlier, putting his arm around him at the right time, but also seems to have given him real freedom on the pitch as well.
Yeah, although the thing with John Mousinho is he's been quite hands off in terms of. He's got a good set of coaches around him who often go and do one-on-one work with players and are kind of encouraged to do that. John Mousinho would have been there for Abu when he needed him, but it's kind of quite a hands-off, let the dressing room look after and manage itself kind of manager. But he is the kind of person who would try and instill confidence in players like Abu. And I also think John Mousinho had the smarts to know that, there were a few bad performances early on, but that's what you expect at that stage, and not to really read too much into them. So John Mousinho has hardly put a foot wrong in 18 months of management so far, and he certainly looks like someone who he's going to have a very, very, very bright career going forward.
And just finally, and I appreciate this is difficult maybe for you to answer without knowing the full context of the Norwich situation, but how excited should Norwich fans be by him? Young player, he's clearly come through the academy as well. On the basis of what you've seen this year, how maybe a better way to frame it is how confident are you that he can hit the ground running in the Championship next season?
Well, most of all, I'd say they should be excited because he's the kind of player that we would often say in commentary. You pay your money to watch someone like that. Watch someone quick, tricky, takes players on, goes round them, gets to the byline, cuts in field. He's exciting to watch. So you should be, it's exciting on one level to have a young talent to come through, but on another level, it's exciting to have a player like him to watch. I think, what's he, 2021? You don't get too many players of that age who've already had a season like they've had. It's a different environment at Norwich. There'll probably be more pressure, another level. It doesn't mean he's automatically going to be successful, but I think a talent like him, who is so exciting to watch, is one Norwich fans should be excited about and should look forward to seeing on the pitch, probably sooner rather than later.
Good stuff, Andrew. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your insight and your time. I know Norwich fans will, and it's going to be fascinating to see how Abu Kamara gets on. And of course, if you're looking for some Pompey, well, it's more sort of radio, isn't it, that you do, but TV as well, then of course they can find you on your X handle, which is there at Mr. Andrew Moon. And I'm sure we'll catch up again over the Championship season. Portsmouth's first at the level for a period of time as well. Look forward to welcoming you to Norfolk and Carrow Road.
Good memories of our last visit there in the FA Cup when Andre Green scored a last-minute winner. So, yes,
I remember it well.
Good to be going to grounds like Carrow Road again this season. We're looking forward to it.
And we're looking forward to welcoming you. Thank you, Andrew.